Hello and welcome to the Kat-Chup. Today I am doing just that. I'm catching up with Rugby League Guru on all the things that have happened over the weekend. We have so many re-signings, a lot of interesting news stories as well. Nothing controversial will be addressed in this show. That's not what we're about. We've got some really fun things that we want to talk about. And I'm going to bring back the crowd favourite, which is the Guess-Roo. And so we're going to have that at the end of the episode. But before we do any of that, welcome to the show.
Good God, there's been some controversy to dodge, hasn't there?
I know.
Bit of negativity getting around, so we thought we'd steer clear of that and look at all the positives because, God, there's a lot of good things going on in rugby league at the moment.
So many good things. I mean, we're in sport in general.
Yeah.
We've just had a brilliant Olympics where there was controversy in that too, but when you just look at the sport for what it is, there is so much to be proud of. With the Australians, we look at the gold medal, not the gold, just the medal count is amazing.
It always blows me away that a country of 25 million, how we even managed to just compete.
I know.
In so many of these things that are such rogue sports, and I'm just like, where are people doing these things? How are they? It's incredible. Yeah, it always makes you very proud to be an Aussie around this period.
Absolutely. And I hadn't actually planned to bring it up, but we were fourth in the medal count, which is unbelievable. 18 gold.
That's
18
insane.
gold. 53 total medals, which is unbelievable, behind the United States, China and Japan. And when, like you said, you compare population sizes, we're surely leading the way per capita.
I think it'll be an absolute landslide victory for us.
So.
I think 18 is our most golds we've ever won too, so that's enormous. And for you Bulldogs fans out there, I saw Winston post the other day. We finished fourth in the 2004 Olympics, and of course the Bulldogs won that season. So,
do you know what? No one works harder than Winston ever when it comes to drawing a comparison to just about anything that's happening in the world and the Bulldogs.
I know we spoke about it the other day. I know you haven't seen the movie, The Number 23 with Jim Carrey.
And
this number just drives him fucking insane. And that's what I imagine Winston's life to be. Speaking of, the Winston Neville Cup on the weekend.
I know. Well, it's good that you brought that up because we were spoilt for choice this weekend in terms of games to watch. And I know when we did our tips, there was a lot that we weren't sure about. And sure enough, when those fixtures came around, the results were really, really interesting as well across both the men's and the women's games. Did you have a highlight game this weekend that you particularly enjoyed?
I think for the men's, obviously Dolphins Warriors hard to go past, but geez, that Panthers Eels game, watching Nathan Cleary orchestrate another comeback. And it's second or whatever versus last or second last or whatever the hell the Parramatta Eels are. But it's like they've always had the wood over the Penrith Panthers over the last few years. And I thought the Panthers were just absolutely dead in the water. And, if they were, I really wouldn't care that much. I'm like, this game doesn't matter to this team. They'll be up and about when it matters. For them to be able to pull that out at the back end of this season, they're just an unbelievable team to watch. The energy when Gutho scored that try in the 68th minute, it just adds another layer to just how great this team is and how they just managed to wrestle themselves back into games. It's crazy. What about you? What was your highlight?
I agree that the Western Derby was amazing, but I can't look past that Finns Warriors game just because of the way that the game turned in the second half.
Yeah.
They were like chalk and cheese. And I went back and watched the mini with my friends because they hadn't seen it. And I said, let's just watch it again and watch it all unfold. And they knew the final score. And then they saw at halftime that whatever the scoreline was, it was something drastically different. They said, what do you mean it ended up golden point?
Unbelievable.
It's unreal.
The Dolphins, they are such a resilient little bunch.
I know. I saw someone in Punters and Dribblers did a 1-17 in terms of playing with heart. And they had Dolphins at second with Bulldogs leading the way. And I have to agree with that. I think when it comes to teams that just don't give up and they just give their all for the full 80 minutes, Finns have to be up there.
Well, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about Perth soon. But when I was over there the other day, like the fact that I said it to you a few weeks ago, the fact that they even just hang in that game with the Roosters, they literally had 17 humans in Western Australia that could play for them.
Yeah.
They had players injured, everything going wrong for them. And just to hang in that contest was unbelievable against the Roosters side that like there's rep players that can't make that team.
Yeah.
The Dolphins are begging to have rep players in there.
Yeah.
So it's just, they're an amazing little franchise.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, Kat, another little highlight for me from the weekend. I actually didn't get to watch this game live, but once I saw the result, I went back and watched some highlights of it. What about Sowie's Dragons?
I know.
Getting it done against the Knights.
At home.
The Knights led 10-0 and lost 18 points to 10.
No, it's crazy.
Yeah, that's a huge upset. That is massive.
Yeah, I think for those that don't follow, it's such an upset because the Knights haven't lost at home for the entirety of a season, I believe.
Wow.
I believe it was Tamika Upton's first loss at home.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
I heard that somewhere, and it doesn't surprise me either. But
yeah, it would be too. Yeah.
That's insane. And the Dragons also, for context, are seen as this really young team that are going to need a couple of years to settle into the comp before they're real contenders. So for them to pull a win out like that is pretty amazing.
There was a bit of a reel on social media of all the girls jumping on Sowie after the game, and he shared it on, I think it was Twitter, X, whatever the hell it's called, and his caption was just my greatest coaching moment, and I thought,
no,
man, that's good for a guy that's been so passionate about the game and everything to go to Newcastle and get that win. Incredible, and we spoke about it last week in our preview, Kat.
Yeah.
These rounds where teams haven't won a game. Brisbane Dragons, they're just backs against the wall and they find a way. It's what you love about sport.
Oh, absolutely. And in the same breath, the fact that Sharks are top of the table now, this is what you love to see. It's not that it's not that it's unexpected. It's just it's nice to see that the hard work is coming to fruition for a lot of these teams.
Well, yeah, and you know what? The Sharkies isn't that wild, but Parramatta to be in third.
Yeah.
Maybe I didn't have enough knowledge going into it, but I cannot believe they are that high.
No,
that is an incredible effort.
No, I agree completely. And I think off the back of the injuries that they copped between round 1 and 2, that's pretty impressive.
Very impressive.
Yeah.
And I mean, here we are at round 3. There's only one team that hasn't won a game yet, the West Tigers. Outside of that, everyone's won a game, which I think is like that's the sign of a very good competition. You've only got one team that's undefeated at the moment too. Yeah. The Sharkies, like a very, very strong competition. Then we get Sharks Knights this weekend. How good.
I know. And just on that, little preview for those that, keep up with the Kat-Chup. We do have a giveaway that we'll be announcing during the week for 2 double passes to the Sharks doubleheader. So they've got the women and the men playing at Shark Park this weekend. So we will have a double pass for those. So look out for the giveaway on social media if you're interested.
How good's that? Sunday afternoon at Shark Park. It doesn't get much better than that. The men's game kicks off at 4:05 p.m. The women's, what's that, about 2 o'clock, I would say, something around that mark.
Details
1:45. Yeah, details come, but 2 cracking games. Obviously, top of the table clash in the NRLW, and then the NRL. That's season defining for the Newcastle Knights. I think they have to win that. And the Sharkies, if they want to hold on to a top 4 spot, also a must win for them too.
And off the back of a big weekend for them. Speaking of results, 44-0, they beat the Titans.
Yeah, I don't know if it says more about the Sharkies or the Titans.
I know.
Bizarre. I didn't see that result coming at all.
No, I don't think we definitely didn't tip that.
Did I take the Sharkies?
I don't remember. I don't remember.
They're a weird footy side, the Sharkies, without Hines, without Trindle, and like they've now beaten Melbourne down there without those guys, given it to the Titans who are in red hot form. Sometimes they just remind you how tough and gritty they are, the Sharkies. They're a wild side.
I know. All right. Well, speaking of wild sides, you were able to go watch the Dolphins 2 weekends ago in Perth. And I think the biggest news in the NRL space at the moment is that it's looking very likely that we have a team based out of Perth very soon. What are your thoughts on that?
I absolutely love it. I gave my thoughts sort of on the idea 2 weeks ago when I got back from Perth. And as I said, flying over Kat, I was far from convinced it was a good idea. Got over there, saw it with my own eyes, and it just blew me away.
Yeah.
I think they're going to be called the Western Bears by the sound of it. Have you got some bites there?
Yeah, I do. So the North Sydney Bears have confirmed their return to the NRL as the Western Bears. So they'll be based in Perth, and I think they opted for that name change to commemorate the fact that it's the first team on the West Coast. But also, I do think it's a nice way of acknowledging kind of both elements of the team, which is where it's located, but also the North Sydney Bears as well as their kind of original identity.
It's also like a nod to the Western Reds that were in the comp
Of
back
course,
then
yes.
too, which I really like it. I don't know what exactly they're going to do, but obviously the Western Reds, they were black, red, white and yellow. And I want this team to be predominantly Bears, but I would just love a little tinge of yellow somewhere.
Yeah, that would be.
That'd make my day.
It will be really interesting to see what whoever gets that jersey, what they do with it. I'm definitely looking forward to that because, you know, since obviously we got Dolphins in the comp, it's been a while since we haven't had that color combination. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm keen to see. I reckon it'll look. I like that Western Reds jersey that I've got. I love that sort of color scheme. It's a little bit different to all the other teams in the comp as well. So just a little tinge of yellow, just a little nod to the Western Reds. I think that'll be unreal.
Yeah, let's see. Well, it's been 25 years since the North Sydney Bears were in the NRL or played at that level. So it's very exciting. And I did also want to give a little nod to probably the only connection to any club that I have, which is to the North Sydney Bears. And I don't know if I've brought it up before, but my mum's grandfather and great-grandfather both worked with the clubs, coaching the reserve grade side. And one of whom, actually, he was the first to bring in video, like a reviewing video footage of the games.
Really?
Yeah.
I've heard you mention this, but I didn't realise it was that deep. Yeah, right, okay.
Yeah, so Jack O'Reilly, if you want to do some research, some history there, Jack O'Reilly, he coached the reserve grade side back in, I believe it was the late 20s, early 30s. It was a long time ago. And video footage was obviously hard to come by at that period, but he was one of the first to use it as a form of game review.
Oh, wow. I did not expect you to say 20s or 30s then.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow, that's crazy. I guess great-grandfather and everything. Yeah, right, that's wild.
Yeah, I should probably.
I'd love to know when video, like using video really did.
Well, I'd like to think that Grandpa Jack was the one who brought it in.
Jack, yeah. I'd love to know the exact year it came in and what it looked like as well. Like, are you having to take guys to a cinema? Are you, like you probably would, right?
So the North Sydney Bears, actually, I reached out to them a few years ago.
Yeah.
To see what their archive footage was like, if they had anything about my great-grandfather. And they did have a few things. And they actually posted something a little while ago on their Instagram feed and kind of explained this video review stuff. So I might go back and have a look at it and talk to it a little bit more accurately.
Yeah, because of course my brother Josh, he played for the mighty North Sydney Bears last year, so I spent a season going for the Bears in the SG Ball last year. Good fun. And the fella that won our Beers and Break Evens comp last year, he was the head statistician.
Isn't that cool?
I'll tell you what, for a kid that used to stutter on the word S as a child,
that was
life
pretty
achievement
impressive.
being able to say that. But a few connections to the Bears, which is good to see. I'm glad to see him back. I know that.
Me too.
They wanted to be in North Sydney, and I get that. But honestly, 10 clubs in Sydney, it's just honestly 9 clubs in Sydney I think is too much. 10 is just outrageous. I think that this is a good little breaking of bread for all involved. And
I agree.
They're still going to play a game over here too.
Yeah, which would be unbelievable. I would be so there. Do you know what? I'm actually a little torn. Does that make me more of a North Sydney Bears fan than a South Sydney fan?
I was going to put this to you because you've also got like 1 foot in the Canterbury Bulldogs camp as well.
All right, chill there.
According to people.
Chill.
But would you stay with the Bunnies or would you?
You know what? I'm actually really torn because it's always been easy to commemorate the North Sydney Bears and support them because I'm rarely seeing the two.
Yes,
I mean, obviously, if I go a division lower, yes, I've gone to games where I see Souths play North Sydney Bears, but it hasn't been an issue in the NRL. So I don't know. I might have to take it out to the people. Tell me what you think.
Testing times. Personally, if I was a South Sydney fan right now with Wayne Bennett arriving, I don't know if I'd be jumping ship anytime soon. I think after what you've been through the last 2 years.
Am I allowed to have 2 official teams?
Ooh. Well, I've ruled myself out of having 1, so maybe you can have 2.
Take yours.
Although I'll tell you what, the Bears might have a special place in my heart. We'll see. Because I loved Perth when I was over there the other day. I'm keen to see which players are able to sign. And
I know. Well, okay, so this is my question to you before we jump into anything else today. You have just been made the coach of the Western Bears.
Me?
You
Christ,
have just been made the coach of Western Bears. Who are you signing?
Oh, really tough question because it all depends on who's available and whatnot. But
everyone's available. Who are you signing?
If everyone's available, I would want Nath.
Yeah.
He'd be my absolute first choice. There's no doubting that. And if I could get Nath, the other one I want would be Ivan. If I could build a club around those two, that's what I would do right now. But it'd be really interesting to see how they go, because obviously they're not going to be surrounded by the greatest nursery in rugby league, essentially. But those would probably be the two signings I'd have to go for. I think that you have a look at, you know, teams that have come in like the Dolphins, the Titans. Like they need to find an older head in their forward pack to set the standards. Like just watching Jesse Bromwich and how he interacts with the Dolphins.
Oh, yeah.
And you need to find that guy. You then need to find a young crop of guys like the Dolphins have done with your Katoas, Bostocks, Plass, these sort of guys. It's a really challenging little task. But if I had first choice of anyone overall, it would have to be Nath, I think. And then if you're looking for, you know, the next young guy to lead them with, like maybe like a Galvin, I think it'd be a really nice little get. God, it'd be an overwhelming task.
Oh, it would be.
The other one, I think, obviously Ivan would be a first choice, but I wonder if it'll be interesting to see how it all lines up. Like it'll be 2 years down the track. He's spoken about ending his career for a long time. Craig Bellamy, I wonder if he comes into calculations for this. The obvious one's Wayne. He'd obviously be the ideal coach, but
Wayne just gets the job of adopting every new team in the league.
well, because he set the bar so
Yeah, I
high.
know.
Like it's unbelievable. Like the Dolphins, where they're at, like they haven't played finals footy yet. Probably won't play finals footy yet this year, and everyone would still say what they've done is a huge success. Like it's. It just sets a very, very high bar.
Yeah, and I think he's set a standard that we don't even realise until we see another coach try and replicate this.
Bloody oath, yeah.
I think it's easy to take for granted just how much he's done with this side.
Yeah, and I think we also need to keep in mind, and, you know, I love what the Dolphins are doing up there. I've been so impressed with everything I've seen, but, like, the Titans came in and made finals, I think, 2 of their first 3 or 4 years. And since then haven't been back to finals. Might have got back there once. I apologise if I've got that wrong, but I've really struggled since. So like it's hard to set up a club and be relevant straight away, but then to continue that long term, it's going to be really interesting. But the Western Bears, I really like the sound of it.
Yeah,
I'm a
me
fan.
too. Me too. I'm a fan of it. And I like the idea of it a lot. I like the theory of it. And I think in practice it's going to be a really great addition to the NRL. Speaking of more additions, South Sydney have just signed Ewan Aiken. The Penrith Panthers have officiated the signing of Blaze Talagi, which you reacted to last week. But I'm obviously really happy with the Ewan Aiken signing. I've heard nothing but good things about him, even on the Finn side of things. The team there love working with him, speak very highly of him. They're actually sad that he's going as well. So... Yeah,
I was standing on the sideline with him the other day, and obviously he was injured, so he wasn't over there. But talking to them about him, and you know they already knew that he was going. It's been the worst kept secret in rugby league for quite some time.
I know. I actually had a moment when I saw the official post of, didn't we know this already?
We know this? Yeah. Like the Finns have known about it for quite some time. Aiken's been quite open about it with them. And yeah, speaking of them, they're really going to miss the sort of character that he is, the experience that he brings. The thing that I love for you guys, Kat, is that Ewan is one of those guys that, and especially in the modern game, and people will say, oh, it doesn't matter. But in my opinion, it does. It decides a lot of games. There isn't a position on the field that you could have an injury or a HIA that Aiken can't cover by moving other people.
Yeah.
Like to have a guy that can jump on the edge, he could play lock, he could jump in the middle if you needed him to. You wouldn't play him in the halves, but you could move him to centre and move someone else to fullback and then move someone into fight. Like he just covers every position just by having him in the side. And what it also does is it allows you, if you play him on an edge, it allows you to move one of Jai Arrow, Keon, or Murray into the middle permanently, which I think you need to do personally. And I mean, if a player's got the Wayne Bennett tick of approval that he's taken him from one club to another, like, do you need much more? You know what else I love about Aiken for you guys as well is that he's a gun player. He's fantastic, but he's not going to play Origin. You'll have him for 27 weeks. You're not having to pay him rep football price. You would have got him at good market value. You're not paying overs to get him. He'll go there for an opportunity with Wayne. He'll go there for an opportunity to win a comp. He hasn't won one yet. Yeah. I just think for Ewan and for South Sydney, I just think he ticks so many boxes. Yeah. It's a great get.
Oh, no, I agree completely, and I'm looking forward to having him. And I think to your point, if Wayne's happy, I'm happy.
Yeah.
I don't need much more than that. That gives me all the confidence I could ever need.
Love that.
Now, we discussed very briefly in the late show last week for Beers and Break-Evens, the 100-meter sprint. We had just seen the men's event in the Olympics just days before that.
You made it sound like little A's then.
I know. Yeah, we saw the men's comp. No, we saw the men's 100 and the women's 100-meter sprints. I love the athletics side of the Olympics. That's where I really start to tune in. But after the documentary series Sprint, which was so good, if you haven't seen it, you should still watch it. But that hyped me up so much for the sprinting in this particular Olympics.
I really wish I would have watched it. I'll have to go back and watch it.
It's just good because and actually Noah Lyles, he won the 100-meter sprint. He's from the US and he had commented within that docuseries on, when we talk NBA or NFL, we say best in the world. He's like, Best in the world? How? And yes, it is the best talent from around the world that come and play in these leagues. But when you look at the Olympics, this is quite literally the best in the world from every country and everyone who's qualified. And so when Noah Lyles said he's best in the world, he really is best in the world.
Yeah, and I find that to be one of the most arrogant things about the Yanks, the septic tanks over there when they win the Super Bowl and it's like world champion. It's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, chill.
It's a country that's not played outside your champions, but world champions fucking miss me. Like you wouldn't calling the NRL, the team that wins the NRL, the world champions. Even the World Club Challenge. I guess that's the best of the international
of
comps.
The various leagues that play that sport.
Yeah, it's got a bit of like Space Jam feels to it where the best.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
fucking weird. Anyway.
It does.
Very American.
Yeah, I think where it makes sense is, with the NBA and it being the best basketball league in the world and they bring over the best talent from like Spain and Greece and everywhere. Like, okay, but it's still not best team
I still
in the
think
world,
it's very flaky still.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Anyway, the reason I bring that up is because shortly after we had that discussion, the Sydney Morning Herald reported that the NRL may in fact be running somewhat of a mini Olympics at the grand final. If they can get sponsors in time, it looks like they could be doing the 100-meter sprint for both men and women.
Yeah.
Obviously, some of the biggest names. You actually mentioned Reece Walsh when we put our hypothetical list together. So he has been listed here. The likes of Kohler, Jason Saab, Ronaldo Mulitalo, Ko Weeks, Khan Pereira, Dom Young. There are so many names that we would love to see race. But it's quite interesting to see the NRL themselves planning something like this. We've obviously spoken offline a lot about the actual practicality of putting on a 100-meter sprint race.
Yeah.
Tell us your thoughts. Let's go.
I love the idea. As a fan, I absolutely love the idea. I would love to see it happen. My fear is, and by the way, just on that note, if the NRL can't, with social media and everything as it is right now, not to mention it's on grand final day, if they can't get sponsors for that, something's gone seriously fucking wrong.
Oh, I think that they would.
They would absolutely. Yeah. They would be palming off sponsors for that.
No, I think this is more their way of just saying we'd love to do it, but it's pending investment.
See, my big thing, and if I was, and I am happy to be called an arsehole or a party pooper or whatever, I'll happily wear that. If I was an NRL coach, there is not a hope in hell I would let my player run in this. Just too much risk for injury. It is not something that's part of their usual sort of campaign. I understand that you've got guys, and I've watched these guys train with Roger Fabry down there in Maroubra, and they're incredible athletes. But I think it's very similar to the Auckland Nines, Kat. We love it. It's entertaining. It's so good. We're calling for it. Teams go. The first year was fantastic. It was great. Someone does an ACL, someone does an injury, then coaches start to pull back. Eventually, the whole idea just dies because no one's willing to do it. And once one coach puts his hand up and says, I'll be the arsehole, my player's not going, the rest will go, sweet, we can fall in line now, which is the tough thing.
Yeah. And the reality too is if Manly or the Dogs make the final, we're not going to see those guys in there, or Roosters make the final, we're not going to see Dom Young in there.
Yeah.
And look, I know from like an Anthony Seibold perspective, I know that he has no issues with the boys doing sprint training in preseason. I think there's various bits and bobs of sprint training that they do during the season, but their main training is for Manly. It is whatever the team requires, and what they choose to do in their days off, that's their prerogative. But to your point, you can really visualize as soon as a race like that occurs, there's got to be a hamstring that goes.
Oh, they're just something would have to go wrong eventually, and especially like these guys are professional athletes. They are competitive. You can't say to them, go at 90%.
Oh, God.
They're going to give this absolutely everything they've got. And I mean, I said to Kat before, and I know people say, "Oh, you're getting too deep." What if you show up on grand final day and it's pissing with rain? Then what do we? You got all these sponsors that have put money into it. All the crowd's excited for it, and it quite often does rain on grand final day. I don't know. There's a lot of a risk that goes into it.
There's a lot of variables.
There's a lot of variables, yes. And if take Jason Saab for example, who would be one of the headline acts, like. Anthony Seibold might be happy to see it. Personally, if I'm him, like the last novelty event I took him to was Vegas and I lost him for 8 weeks.
Yeah.
There is not a hope in hell I'm letting a guy who has had multiple hamstring issues this year, as good as he is, as quick as he is, as much as he probably would win the damn thing, I'm not taking that risk.
No.
I wouldn't be doing it.
No, you make a good point. And I think the other thing is, the likes of Dom Young, Jason Saab, they do professional sprint training. They know exactly how to do it. Like, mind you, it doesn't omit the possibility of a hamstring injury.
Yeah.
But not all of the guys that we've mentioned in this race do professional sprint training.
Yeah.
These guys, when it comes to their athleticism, they really understand what's required. I can just see things going wrong.
Because I also from memory, and I could be completely wrong, but like I look at Jason Saab and the hamstring injuries he's had this year, they haven't been in contact.
No, it's his running.
That would be my huge fear as a coach. And once again, if you do it 1 year and something goes wrong, the next year you're not going to get anyone to show up for it.
Yeah, no, the hammy that he pulled in Vegas was all him.
Yeah. And I almost think the 100-meter race idea, I think we love it so much because we probably know deep down we're never going to actually get it.
There's
I just don't think it's going to happen.
There's a thrill about it.
There's a thrill about it, yeah.
Yeah. And I've spoken to some of these guys that are in contention, and they already know who would win and who wouldn't win just based off of their timing and the training they've already done. And to be honest, like half of them have probably raced each other just with Rog around, and Rog could give us a play-by-play without the boys having to pull a hammy.
And I think that, when you talk to these boys, look, I'm keen, I'm down. They're young guys. They got you don't want to back down for something on this, but I just think there would just be too much red tape around these guys. And there's just too many injuries that go on in a season. And honestly, if I'm these guys and like this is also their time off.
Yeah.
Like if they're able to run that day, they're in their off season. They've got a very, very short window of time where they can enjoy themselves. And I just don't think they want to risk having an injury during that period too. I love the idea, but there's just so much going on.
I think there's a lot to consider in terms of compensation too, to your point, like if they get injured before the off season. And I feel like we're very negative, Nancy, about it, but I think it's just the reality of a novelty event like this, the risk of injury, the timing, it's right before they're supposed to take a break. The last thing you want to do is pull a hammy.
Yeah.
It's also the reality that a lot of these guys, their seasons might be done 3 or 4 weeks before the actual race. So they're not training as consistently. Does their attention suddenly become sprint training in the lead up to this? Like, I don't know.
Maybe it does if you put up a big prize for them, but
there should be a prize.
There should be a prize, but also, as you said, like if I'm Manly and Jason Saab, injures himself and he misses the start of the preseason, like I'm just like, what compensation do I get from that?
Yeah, exactly.
And as Kat said, we sound like we're being negative assholes, and I kind of am, to be honest with you, because I know this is how the NRL, this is why we haven't seen it in years.
Yeah.
It's not like last week someone came up with an idea for the fastest players to race each other and everyone went, no, that's a good idea.
No, we didn't watch the Olympics and say, hey, like this could be an NRL thing.
I remember having this conversation when I was 10 years old.
Yeah.
Like it's always been a thing in rugby league. It peaks around the Olympic time, but there's reasons why they haven't really done it. And like even when it did happen a couple of years ago, like it was done on a night at ES Marks with hardly any lights on. It was of a dodgy stream. Like it wasn't NRL approved, and there's probably a reason for that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would love to see it. It'd be so entertaining, but I just can't see it getting across the line.
Yeah, I'd love to know what you guys think in the comments, because I think it is one of those ones where selfishly I'd love to see it myself. But when you look at all of the variables that go into it, is it worth it? I think they can get the sponsors, but whether or not each of those big names that we listed are actually willing to do it. There's so much pride involved too. I don't know, I'm nervous for them at the idea of doing it and then something goes wrong, or if you pull out, is it because you weren't confident? I don't know. There's just so much to it. But I also think, bottom line, if these guys wanted to be sprinters, that's what they would have pursued. If Jason Saab wanted to be a professional sprinter, that's what he would be doing. He's a rugby league player. That's where his focus is.
Yeah, for sure. Isn't it amazing, like something like that, like, you know, these will be the 8 fastest guys in the NRL, one of the most elite competitions in the world.
Yeah.
And like, if you're not finishing first, there'll almost be judgment on the rest of them.
Oh, for sure.
Didn't win. It's like going to the Olympics and being 4th. You would have been better off not qualifying.
No, you'd be better off just saying I can't race for various reasons.
It's unbelievable. Like the high stakes and everything, the way we look at things like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Crazy. Yeah.
I think also it's the 200 meters, the 400 meters, the 100 meters. Like there's all those to consider too. Like some of them would be better over a longer distance, and then you get into the whole debate of it. And like I clearly find it interesting because we've talked about it a lot. But I don't know. It will be fascinating to see whether or not it actually transpires. And if it does, how it actually looks.
Yeah. My prediction, if it does transpire, I reckon the lead up to it, you'll have a lot of chopping and changing of the guys that are actually in it. I reckon a lot of coaches will go, nah, pull him out. And I just think if you're going to do it, the first year it has to be the 8 people you announce. They have to race. They have to get through it completely injury-free. Like there cannot be a single hiccup.
Yeah.
Or coaches will just go, no. Same as the Auckland Nines. As soon as one coach started to send over reserve graders, they just went, no, we'll send the same thing.
No, I completely agree with you. It's very risky.
Very risky.
Very risky.
God, it'd be good for the fan.
Oh, it'd be so much fun. And in the women's too.
Yeah.
Jamie Chapman, 100%.
Yeah,
I'm actually not too sure who would be
I'm not
the
too sure
fastest.
either. I probably don't have enough knowledge to be able to make that call, but from watching Jamie Chapman that night at Suncorp, I'd probably have to go for her at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, it feels silly not to suggest her. Yeah. Well, there.
What's next?
Let us know your thoughts in the comments, please. I'm genuinely curious to know how people feel about it from a practicality perspective. We all want to see it, but whether or not we really think that it can happen.
And realistically, grand final day, I think that's the perfect time to do it. You couldn't do it at any other time, I don't think.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of problems with doing it on grand final day still, but it is what it is.
Let's see. Okay, let's dive into the guest roux. Are you ready?
Oh, I was just thinking, could you imagine if we have this sprint and that's all organised and it's all looking fantastic, and then Manly go on a run to the grand final and you get it without Kohler and Saab?
You don't want it.
Like I just put an asterisk on it straight away.
Put a line through it.
Wild. Sorry, we guess ruining.
We're guest ruining.
Sweet,
it's a nice quick episode today. We're just talking all the main headlines. We're just catching up, and I think it's nice to do a bit of that as well. You know,
been a while since
it has been a while. It has been a while. It's been a busy week so far as well, and there's so much planned. Okay, all right. We haven't done one of these in a while.
Have you got one?
I've got one. I'm seeing if I still got my flow with the question asking. Okay. All right. I've played. I'm gonna make it hard for you. Okay.
Yeah. Good. Yeah.
Okay. I've played for 1, 2, 3, 4 NRL clubs. One of them is the Canterbury Bulldogs.
Played for 4 NRL clubs. One of them is the Canterbury Bulldogs. Okay. Next clue.
I played for the Canterbury Bulldogs from 04 to 08.
Canterbury Bulldogs from 04 to 08. I reckon.
Are you taking a guess already?
Yeah, I'm going to take a guess. Is he someone that we have just mentioned in conversation today by any chance at some point?
No.
No? Okay. So it's not Rennie Matua?
No.
No? Okay.
Good guess though.
Okay, 04 to 08 at the Canterbury Bulldogs. Played for 4 clubs. Just thinking about that 04 grand final side. 4 teams? No. Not Braith. Not Shifty Sherwin. Sonny Bill, no. Andrew Ryan, no. Steve Price, no. 04. Willie Tonga, maybe? Give me another clue. Is it Willie Tonga? Well, it's Willie Tonga's 4 clubs: Canterbury, Parramatta,
He debuted
North
with
Queensland,
Para.
and don't
Yeah.
tell me.
Oh, I've messed you up there. He went back to Para.
Oh, I went back to Para. I
Yeah.
thought so. Yeah, okay. Willie Tonga. I'll tell you what, if you get an opportunity, go and have a look at Willie Tonga's Instagram page. Actually, Kate, can you do it live for me on your
Sure.
phone? Have a look at it. I'll get your live reaction to it. Willie Tonga was obviously, an Australian centre for quite some time, a very, very talented footballer. Had a fantastic rivalry with Justin Hodges in the early 2000s, was unreal. He's recently, over the last 2 or 3 years, got right back into his training. And fuck me, he put up a photo the other day.
He is ripped.
He is ripped to pieces.
Now I know why you wanted me to react to this.
Far out. I think the caption of it said something like, "Oh, people might bully me for this."
No, he says this post will go either 2 ways. It may inspire people or, of course, get shared to other people and I'll be laughed at or mocked for big noting myself. To be honest, I do not care.
Oh my God. Honestly, go and have a look at this picture. It is insane. The guy is an absolute specimen. Unfortunately, Willie was part of that very famous Queensland side that won a heap in a row as well. A very, very talented player, Willie Tonga. And honestly, go and have a look at this picture. It is
You won't regret it. I don't regret it.
insanity. It is crazy. To do that at his age, I think like Willie would be, how old's Willie Tonga? I reckon he's 40.
I believe he was born in, having just photo memory of what it said, I think 1983. Yeah,
Yeah, I would have
1983.
said 42 or something. How
His
old is he?
birthday's the 8th of August.
What's
Happy
that?
birthday,
About 2
Willie.
weeks ago, yeah.
From
So
last
how
week.
old is he, sorry?
41.
41. That's, yeah.
He looks
insanity.
phenomenal. I'm just going to be real.
He looks sensational.
phenomenal.
Incredible. Very good player, Willie Tonga.
that's
Kangaroos, Queensland, how good.
That's it.
I like that. I enjoyed that, Captain.
Yeah,
Dude. Good to be
well
back.
Well done.
Want to take
Anything
us
else?
out? No, I think I'm done.
I'm so used to throwing to you.
It's your show, mate. Take us away.
I kind of want to see you close out the Kat-Chup though. Ready?
Giveaway coming tomorrow on the Rugby League Guru Instagram page. So make sure you go and check that out, guys, for the double pass to Sharkies Knights, the women's and the men's game on Sunday afternoon. Stay tuned for details there. We've also got these jumpers that are dropping, I think, next Monday night. So stay tuned for that, rugbyleagueguru.com.au. Thanks for joining us on the Catch-Up. We'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.